on Kelsea Ballerini. We've got kind of mix of sources here, a little bit about her relationship, a concert review from her recent tour, and this is interesting, a little peek into her personal life through her favorite candle.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know, right? It sounds random, but I think it's going to all come together to give us a really interesting look into where she's at right now.
Yeah, these kind of seemingly unconnected sources, you can learn a lot about a person from these things. So I think this is going to be a good one, yes.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with this article from January 2025.
Yeah.
It's called Chase Stokes Fuels Marriage Speculations with Kelsea Ballerini. And this one has really been sending fans into a frenzy. So it all started with an Instagram photo of Kelsea and her boyfriend Chase Stokes. You might recognize him from Outer Banks. And some eagle-eyed fans noticed a ring on his finger. And of course, the internet exploded.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course.
Okay.
It's mostly speculation, though, right? I mean, it's fun to read, but what I think is really interesting is how Kelsey's attitude towards marriage seems to be shifting. You know, her divorce from Morgan Evans back in 2022 was very public. And, you know, initially she seemed pretty adamant about not getting married again.
Yeah, that makes sense. You go through something like that, you're probably going to swear off the whole institution for a while.
Exactly. You need some time.
Right.
But she said recently in an interview with E! News, "I would never say never to anything." That's a pretty big statement.
Yeah.
Considering where she was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's not even just about marriage. That's just her outlook on life in general. Like, she's not letting the past dictate her future.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put the relationship rumors aside for a minute and let's look at her career. We've got this great concert review from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel about her show at Fiserv Forum. This was a big deal because it was her first headlining arena tour,
Wow.
which is a major milestone for any artist.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's a big step.
The title of this review really says it all. Kelsea Ballerini shined in her Fiserv Forum headlining debut. The reviewer talks about this being her big girl arena tour, and it's clear she's really embracing this moment.
Yeah, and it sounds like the crowd was totally eating it up. The reviewer mentions these playful interactions with fans, all the high-energy performances of her hits like Love Me Like You Mean It and Hole in the Bottle. And this really impressive production of the whole show, floating platforms, quick changes the works. There's even this funny little anecdote about a fan asking her to write a tattoo quote on a sign.
Oh, that's cute.
You know, typical concert stuff.
Yeah, it's those little personal touches that make her so relatable. You know, the reviewer also mentioned how Kelsea joked about dry January hates to see me coming before launching into Hole in the Bottle.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so she doesn't take herself too seriously. And that kind of connection with the audience, you know, can make a concert really special.
Totally. Okay, are you ready for this? Let's switch gears completely and talk about Kelsea Ballerini's favorite candle.
Okay, I was waiting for this one.
I know you're probably thinking, what does a candle have to do with anything? But bear with me. This article from Homes and Gardens actually reveals a lot more than you might think.
I'm very intrigued. This is the source I was most curious about. Like, what can a candle possibly tell us about Kelsea Ballerini?
Well, first of all, it's a Nashville-themed candle called Ultimate Local Vibe from a company called Ranger Station. And apparently it smells like a late summer night on the porch.
Oh, wow.
And it comes in a whiskey glass.
Wait, a whiskey glass?
A whiskey glass.
That's amazing. And kind of hilarious considering that dry January hates to see me coming comment from the concert review. It's like these two completely different sources are suddenly talking to each other.
I know, it's great, right?
I love it when that happens.
It's these unexpected connections
Yeah.
that make this so fun.
And it speaks to a certain authenticity, too. You know, it's not just some carefully curated celebrity image. It's a glimpse into Kelsey's real life, her personal preferences, and her connection to her hometown.
Exactly. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've got so much more to unpack with these sources.
So you know what's interesting about this candle is it's not just some random celebrity endorsement. The article mentions that Kelsea really specifically loves this company, Ranger Station. Because it's local to Nashville, she even gives their candles to friends.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, it really reinforces this image of her as someone who's grounded, you know, connected to her roots, even as her career is just like skyrocketing.
Totally. And think about how that ties back to the concert review. The reviewer talked about how comfortable and confident she seemed on stage. It's almost like having that strong sense of place, that connection to Nashville, gives her this solid foundation to launch herself from.
Right. It's like Nashville is her anchor, her home base. It's something that she can always come back to no matter where her career takes her.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of challenging herself and embracing new possibilities, remember that quote from the marriage speculation article?
Yeah.
Kelsea said, "Anything that I've said a hard no to in my life, I have come back and challenged myself on."
Oh, that's a powerful statement. It makes you wonder what other hard no's she might be reconsidering these days.
Right?
Like maybe it's about genre, collaborating with artists outside of country music, or maybe it's about taking on different roles in the industry, like producing or songwriting for other artists.
Ooh, those are some really interesting possibilities. It definitely suggests that she's in a completely different headspace now compared to a few years ago. When her divorce was so fresh, she's not letting those past experiences hold her back from exploring new horizons.
Yeah, it's inspiring. It's really inspiring. Speaking of exploring, let's dive back into that concert review for a second. There's this whole section where the reviewer describes the stage production. And it sounds incredible. Floating platforms, quick changes, even a moment where she dances with a chair during a song called "We Broke Up." It all sounds so theatrical and visually captivating.
And that dancing with a chair moment, the reviewer specifically calls that part of the female rage portion of the show.
Interesting.
Which I love. It's so great that she isn't shying away from expressing that raw emotion on stage.
Yeah, especially in country music, which can sometimes feel a little bit more, restrained emotionally. It's refreshing to see her embrace that kind of vulnerability and intensity.
Totally. It's that authenticity that makes her such a compelling artist. She's not just singing about heartbreak, she's living it and sharing those raw emotions with her audience.
Yeah. The reviewer also mentions a really special moment where she played an acoustic version of "Homecoming Queen," a song she hadn't performed live in a long time, and apparently it wasn't even on the original set list. She just decided to play it spontaneously.
Ah, that's so cool. That's a fantastic example of how she connects with her audience in a live setting. It's like she's saying, "Hey, Milwaukee, this one's for you." It makes the experience feel more intimate and personal, even in a giant arena.
Yeah. And remember, this was only the 4th night of her tour. So it sounds like she's really committed to making each show unique and special.
Absolutely. It speaks to her intentionality as an artist. She's not just going through the motions. She's putting thought and care into every aspect of the performance.
Okay, I have a slightly out there theory. I want to run it by you. Do you think choosing to highlight that specific candle in the Holmes Gardens article could be a subtle nod to her fans back in Nashville?
Like she's bringing up Piece of Home with her on the road.
Exactly. It's like she's saying, even though I'm playing these huge arenas now, I'm still that same girl who loves Nashville and all its quirky charm.
I love that interpretation. It's a really beautiful way to connect those personal and professional aspects of her life. It shows that success hasn't changed her core values.
It's interesting, right? We started with these 3 seemingly random sources, but they've all kind of woven together to create this really cohesive picture of Kelsea Ballerini. We see her navigating a new relationship, totally killing it on her first arena tour, and staying grounded in the things that matter most to her.
And what's striking me is that thread of confidence and self-assuredness that runs through all of these sources. Whether it's her openness to remarriage, her powerful stage presence, or her simple love for a local candle, she's doing it all with a sense of purpose and authenticity.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It really feels like she's entered this new chapter in her life, one where she's fully embracing all parts of herself.
It's inspiring, really. She's showing us that it's possible to embrace change, stay true to yourself, and achieve your dreams all at the same time.
Well said. But let's not forget, this is just a snapshot. Who knows what the future holds for her?
That's the exciting part. There's always more to discover, more layers to peel back.
So where do we go from here? We've got this amazing picture of Kelsea Ballerini in this moment. But what clues can we find in our sources about what might be next for her, both personally and professionally? One thing that we haven't talked about yet is Kelsea being a judge on The Voice. It's a huge platform. It puts her in front of like a whole new audience, beyond just country music fans. What do you think that experience is doing for her?
Oh, I think it's huge. I think it's really pushing her creatively and professionally, in really interesting ways. The Voice forces her to think about music from so many different perspectives. She's working with artists from all genres. And I think that cross-pollination of ideas has to be influencing her own approach to music.
Right. It's not just about being in the spotlight. It's about expanding her horizons and pushing her boundaries as an artist. And think about the mentorship aspect of that role too. It suggests that she's ready to share her knowledge and experience with up-and-coming artists.
Yeah, totally. It speaks to a certain level of generosity and confidence. You know, she's at a point in her career where she's not just focused on her own success, she's looking to lift others up and contribute to the music community as a whole.
Yeah, like she's coming full circle, right?
Yeah.
She was once that young artist looking up to her idols. And now she's the one in the position to be that role model for a new generation of musicians.
Definitely. And don't forget the power of collaboration. We saw in the concert review how she brought out her opening acts, Maren Taylor and Sasha Alex Sloan, to sing with her, and that kind of support for other female artists, especially in a genre like country music, which can, sometimes feel very competitive. That's huge. That's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, it shows she's not just talk about like empowering women in music. He's walking the walk.
Yeah.
And I think that ties back beautifully to what we were talking about earlier about her challenging herself. And being open to new possibilities.
Absolutely. It's all connected. Her personal growth, her creative evolution, her commitment to lifting others up. It's all part of the same tapestry.
Okay, so we've got this picture of Kelsea as a confident, grounded, evolving artist.
Yeah.
But what about the personal side? That Instagram photo with the maybe engagement ring, maybe just a fashion statement ring,
Yeah.
is still out there.
Right. And while we can't say for sure what her relationship status is, the fact that she's even open to the idea of remarriage suggests that she's in a really good place emotionally, and honestly, whether she's married or not. What matters most is her happiness and well-being.
Couldn't agree more. And you know what? I'm choosing to believe that ring is a sign of good things to come, whether it leads to a wedding or simply symbolizes a deep commitment to her own happiness.
I love that. That's a great outlook, and I think it's justified based on everything we've learned about her today.
This deep dive has been so fun. What started as a look at some random articles turned into this really insightful exploration of growth, resilience, and the power of staying true to yourself.
That's the beauty of a good deep dive, right? You never know where it will lead you.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? Well, I hope it's inspired you to check out Kelsea Ballerini's music if you haven't already. But beyond that, I hope it sparked a curiosity about the people and stories behind the headlines. Remember, there's always more to uncover, more layers to explore. So keep digging, keep questioning, and keep an open mind. You never know what gems you might discover.
And on that note, we'll leave you to continue your own exploration. Until next time, keep diving deep.